Good morning and welcome to the Camnet Breakfast Show, Wednesday edition, Governance and Policy with me, Patrick Soko, and my usual co-host, Shalon Kalimbula. Together, we'll be with you up to the hour of 9 as we get to unpack various segments on this show. But before we go into the nitty-gritties, we have to do the first thing first, and which is to ensure that we get you informed pertaining to issues on health. Let's get to the health corner. Stay tuned.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Rafat Basit Masa. I'm coming from Medical Women's Association of Zambia, MWAZ, and I'm working in University Teaching Hospital as a general surgeon. We're going to have another exciting topic in burns that we've been talking in the last 2 days. So today we're going to talk about treatment. But before that, remember we talked about introduction, we talked about the symptoms, which is very important because we talked about what causes you to have burns, like fire, hot water, hot oil, porridge, acids, alkalines, and something very cold, and many more things that causes burns. So we looked at the types of burns, we looked at the depth of burns, how much burns can injure your body, up to what level, we looked at them. Now we're going to talk about the treatment of burns. So the different kind of burns that we looked at, we talked about superficial burns, the ones which doesn't cause much damage inside your skin. It just there's loss of skin and there's there's a lot of pain, there's redness, and slightly a bit of loss of function as well. So in those burns, first of all, ensure that when you get any great burns, make sure you go to your nearest health care. They are going to provide all the treatment for you. As we discussed earlier, that when you get burned, do not apply anything on your wounds. Just make sure that you go to the basin, wash your hands or the part that has been burned in normal room temperature water for about 20 minutes. From there, go to the nearest health care and they'll provide everything for you. So for the superficial burns, there is nothing much that needs to be done. We can give you some ointments to apply and teach you how these wounds can be looked after. And between 7 to 14 days, if you're accurately following our instructions or our instructions from the healthcare, from the nurses, from the doctors, then definitely you are going to heal very well between 7 to 14 days. Then for the burns which are second degree, that those burns which are deeper than the first degree, for example, they'll go slightly deeper than the skin, they'll cause blisters, they'll also be very, very painful, and they are going to make you feel devastated. You lose lots of fluids. Sometimes you also lose a bit of blood because as they are cleaning the wounds, you'll be bleeding from the wounds, and that will cause you to have a bit of anemia as well. So it's also a very, very devastating time for the patient, for the patient's family as well, because the patient's family has to be always by the bedside to ensure that they are looking after the patient. The children, it's very devastating to see children getting burned because children are the most beautiful people that we have in this world, and when they get hurt, we also get hurt. So ensure that we protect them as well. So when it comes to second degree burns, they actually require admission, they require adequate, we need to give them good amount of fluids, because remember that there's skin loss and they've lost some fluids. Then if required, we give them blood. Then we actually give, if there's infection, we give them antibiotics. Then we make sure that we are cleaning the wounds very well. Then we ensure that once you get burnt, make sure that your if your hand gets burned or your leg gets burns, any part of your body that gets burns, please make sure that you're always mobilizing that part, because if you don't mobilize, you'll have more complications that we're going to talk about in the next episode for complications. But for now, just make sure that you move your limbs very well, exercise them so that you get back to your full function. We don't want a situation that you are actually burned and your wounds were very nicely cleaned, you were looked after, and at the end of the day you were not exercising your body, so that makes you become very stiff and you're unable to move that part of your body. So we want you to function the way you used to before. Of course, life is never the same after you get burned, because you end up getting scars, and it's very devastating with your family, then with your spouse, with a lot of complications coming. So that's why avoiding these burns is the best solution. So please, let's make sure that we avoid getting burned as much as we can, and especially when it comes to children. Our majority statistics in University Teaching Hospital, what we noticed is we receive a lot of children every single day. And majority of these children, they get burned because most of the mothers are working mothers. You find they've gone for work and they've remained with the maids, and they were not really adequately looked after, so you find the children, they end up touching pots, hot water, pots with porridge, or braziers. They go into braziers, or some of them even fall on the braziers and they get burned. Sometimes they get burned really bad that they don't recover. Others actually recover, others we lose them. So it's it's a very devastating situation where you find a beautiful child who has been playing around, has been living well, suddenly dies because he has been burned. So these things can be always avoided because of we can avoid them. Ensure that even if wherever we leave our children, please make sure that you emphasize them to look after your children very well. Let's look after our children very well, like they are our children. So we ensure that they don't go through these devastating situations. For a child, it's very difficult because they're going to grow. They are our future, so why should we let them get burnt? So please make sure that you protect our children, ourselves, from getting burned. Please keep watching Camnet, because we are going to bring you different types of topics, different types of discussion, wonderful discussions. You're going to learn so many things from us. We are going to teach you a lot of things. So please stay tuned with Camnet channel. Keep watching every day, and you will learn a lot of things with us. My name's Dr. Rafat Basit Masa. I'm coming from Medical Women's Association of Zambia, MWAZ, and I'm working in University Teaching Hospital. Please stay tuned and keep watching us with these exciting topics.
There you have it, the doctors bringing what they bring us the most every morning, just to remind us of the health implications relating to different situations. And today they were talking about
the treatment
of burns, especially in children. They talked about issues to do with the brazier, especially that the weather in Zambia seemingly is a bit cold, and most parts of the country are experiencing the similar weather conditions where we are feeling a bit cold here and there, regardless of me not wearing a jacket. It's just that the room is well conditioned to my temperature, preferred temperature. But out there, it's a little bit cold. So that's just a timely reminder that you need to ensure that you take care of your children, especially. She mentioned that. And she just reminded the viewers out there, like we always do, to say, keep watching Camnet TV for these insightful health editions that come every day on the Breakfast Show. And you can still watch these episodes on our Facebook page, Twitter page. I think are we live on Twitter as well?
We should be. We also
and YouTube as well.
YouTube.
So ensure
TikTok,
that
we are also making a mark there.
Follow our socials and let's get interactive. You can also suggest the topics that you want the doctors to tackle going forward, and how impactful the ones that have shared this far have been in your lives. Let's get interactive. I mean, feedback is good, whether you like it or you don't like it. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, quite interesting subject, Sharon. Like you say, I remember this time of the season, it is tempting to always put up a brazier, and some of us, we used to light a fire. We used to call it chimbiri, and we used the donya to just make sure it is sustained, and the donya plastic. And it was quite terrible, Sharon, especially when the plastic was on the skin. Yeah. It's so all those things still do happen, especially among children. So we just need to make sure as parents that we are proactive in taking care of our children. Quite an interesting topic of discussion that we had, Sharon.
Indeed, Patrick, let's look at how the kwacha is faring against the major convertibles. This is the Breakfast Show. The United States dollars is standing at 16 kwacha 25 ngwe and selling at 16 kwacha 57 ngwe. The Great British Pound is at 19 kwacha 29 ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha 67 ngwe. The Euro is buying at 16 kwacha 31 ngwe and selling at 16 kwacha 64 ngwe, while the South African Rand is still below 0.95 ngwe and selling at 0.97 ngwe. The kwacha is definitely becoming stronger than the South African Rand, Patrick.
Yeah, quite. It's been performing within that range.
At least for the past 1 week.
Yes. So
the Rand has been on that trajectory of 0.9 something, and that speaks volumes for our kwacha, Patrick. It's growing.
It is. But again, it is having a lesser influence, especially in terms of our monthly review of fuel prices. So that becomes a problem, because we want it to actually have a direct impact. But we saw the Energy Regulation Board also attributing to the increase to other costs associated to the importation of fuel, which is not good, because we may see fuel not the kwacha volatility not becoming the major factor towards influencing prices of the commodity, but other factors, which is not good, because if we stabilize the kwacha, we are hoping that probably there could be a price stability, especially when it comes to fuel, which is an important commodity in terms of moving the economy, because everything we do at the end of the day has a component of fuel.
Indeed, Patrick, let's look at this story. Finance Minister and National Planning, Stombeko Msokotwane, has disclosed that all the creditors have agreed to help Zambia restructure the debt, which it says is a gateway to the International Monetary Fund bailout package for the country. Dr. Msokotwane says the discussions with the IMF on the bailout package were concluded, and explains that the bailout package can only be made available to the country once Zambia gives assurance to the IMF that its debt is sustainable. He has attributed the delay of receiving the IMF package to the country's creditors meeting the devised modalities on how the debt will be paid to them, and expressed optimism of meeting the creditors to find amicable ways of repayment. Let's look at the story, and hopefully we get to understand one or two things. Patrick and Isaac kindly played their stories back to back with a story for our national census.
Debt restructuring is a gateway to get into an IMF program. The IMF says, yes, we can give you a credit a program, but we need an assurance that your debt is sustainable, so discuss with the creditors. There is no more discussion with us, between us and the IMF. We have concluded the discussion. We have agreed. Okay? No more discussions. We've all agreed on everything. What is now just awaiting us is to have this debt restructured, then immediately it is an IMF program. When you are talking about inflation, you are not talking about the price of one commodity. Understand that very carefully. You are not talking about the price of one commodity. You are talking about the price of a basket of goods and services that the typical consumer consumes.
Preparations of the 60th National Census have advanced as the Zambia Statistical Agency, in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, have flagged off the distribution of the 2022 census materials to all provinces. A comprehensive census in Zambia was first conducted in 1969, followed by 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010, and light is shining for the 2022 census after it failed to take off in 2022 due to lack of resources. The Zambia Statistical Agency Interim Statistician General Mulenga Msepa has called on the citizens to treat the process with the importance it deserves. Mr. Msepa disclosed that the agency will employ 46,800 personnel to conduct the process slated for 18th August to 14th September 2022.
For all of us is to send a word that people must make themselves available to be counted and provide accurate information. This information is important for socio-economic planning for the country. And there's other information also which is important there. Apart from just counting, we'll be looking at the economic activities people are involved in, what level of education they've had, skills. So this.
Speaking during the flagging off ceremony of the census materials to all the provinces, Information and Media Minister Chushi Kasanda called on the citizens to cooperate with the census officials to ensure correct data is given to help the country.
It's important that we disseminate this information, and we'd like to also encourage our citizens, particularly those households that refuse to give information. I think it is important that we give out this information, and also we don't want our enumerators to easily give up when they are told that they cannot receive that information. I think it's important that they escalate it to their supervisors, who will follow up as to why that household has not been able to give that information. So we want to encourage the citizens that let them give out that information to the...
Meanwhile, Minister of Finance and National Planning, Stumbeko Msokotwane, has encouraged citizens not to be misled by falsehoods that government desires to use the national census exercise to spy on them. The minister says there is nothing suspicious about the forthcoming national census of population and notes that the data collected from the exercise will help government plan effectively on how to roll out development to all parts of the country.
It goes beyond that. As you heard for yourselves, this is also beyond counting the human beings. It is also finding out certain information about ourselves. How many feminines? How many males? What kind of dwelling do they live in? Where do they live in? Where is the nearest water point? Where is the nearest school? Where is the nearest clinic? Where is the nearest... So it is finding...
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News in Lusaka.
Oh, welcome back. You are still watching the Camnet Breakfast Show, and quite interesting stories that we have zoomed in just now. Stories pertaining to the Ministry of Finance and engaging creditors to restructure Zambia's debt. This has been happening for a while. We had a deadlock because other creditors were of the view that we still wanted to gain the confidence to just help us work on this debt. But I'm sure now all the creditors are coming on board, which is a commendable arrangement. And just now we also saw the ministry taking up issues pertaining to the national census of population, a key process in Zambia that needs to be undertaken because it wasn't done prior to the August 12, 2021 general election. And even when the ECZ was actually conducting this election, it did not have the actualities in terms of the country's population.
Exactly.
So they just worked on estimations to just ensure that they register a certain number of the population to participate in the general election. But now this population that is going on will give us a clear picture to understand Zambia's poverty situation, Zambia's rate of unemployment, Zambia's productivity levels, Zambia's population, and so that the country
how many
can be able
women
to
we have, how many
plan.
males
Now,
we have, how many youths we have. All those issues will be included in this national housing census of housing and population.
Yes.
And we surely hope that with this going forward, the country will be able to plan properly as to how the country can succeed in one way or the other, because currently as it stands, we're using statistics that are based on estimations or the other ones that we did
the
10 years ago, you know. But then the population has grown maybe about 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7%, you know, at the moment. So we really, really need to know for planning purposes as a country, because really you can't be shooting in the air, without knowing exactly what you're supposed to do. And we surely hope that this time around everything is set, and in August the census will take off, and we'll see people going around with those beautiful motorbikes, just counting people. Just give them the utmost time and respect, you know, when they come to your homes and knock and ask you how many people that you are there. Don't start shouting at them. Say, when you're on a branch,
who are you to know how many people?
Just because you've managed to understand God's directive to say go on earth and multiply. You know, you have 27 kids. You know, it's not a mockery. Just respond.
Yeah,
to say, no, right. Me, I have 27 children. I understood what God said.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting process, because really, if the government has to plan, then they can only plan based on the numbers. Numbers don't lie.
So
as
they say.
If even us as the media, it's a key process when we are reminding the government of what sort of responsibility they need to undertake. In terms of when we are reminded, say, the poverty levels at this state, so what are you doing about it? It becomes easier for us to do stories with statistics that are updated, because at the moment we are still using statistics that were done for the census for 2010. We do specific sector statistics for the World Bank, most of them of which backdate to 2015. So you'd find that I also did the National Health Demographic Survey of 2015, but all those numbers do not really add up now, because time has also moved. So the census will be key towards us understanding various economic indicators and to help in national planning. And just now we're going to get you closer to our topic of discussion, where we had issues that were trending in the political fraternity as of yesterday, Sharon, where we saw former Republican President EDGAR LUNGU coming out on the open saying that he is ready to abandon his immunity so that he can be prosecuted, so investigated, so that he can clear his name. But this is emanating from the fact that the First Lady is being investigated in connection with having property suspected to be proceeds of crime. And we saw that issue trending for the past 2 weeks. And we have seen quite a number of statements emanating, because we also saw prior to that the First Lady, we had Tarsila LUNGU, who was also scheduled to appear before law enforcement wings. Yes. We also had Daliso LUNGU, is also the son to the former head of state. He was also appearing. So we have
also his son-in-law, Patrick Mansa, who has actually gone ahead now to sue the Drug Enforcement Commission for taking possession of his house, which is in Kafue. I think that is a story that we've seen go around and this week. And basically, yes, according to him, yesterday he said, I'm aware that after my wife, they're coming after me. and hence that statement. But then again, some sections of society are actually saying the Patriotic Front leadership really should let this man rest, because it's like they're instigating him to say these things, you know, when he's not actually ready to be in the public and say things. Because healing is a process, according to the public court of opinion, Patrick. Healing is a process that takes time, and it's just 10 months since the man handed over the mantle of leadership to his one-time, you know, opposition leader. So really, for them, the way he came out yesterday, the strong words he uses, you know, whether, you know, the words like cheat, words like hypocrisy, words like liars, you know, towards his counterpart, who is now the president, you know, it really show that they're coming from a perspective of somebody feeling hurt or feeling bad about the situation. But we could understand, though, maybe he's feeling bad about whatever is happening in his household, you know, where your wife is being caught here and there, your wife is being exposed to the public. And you know what happens when your name is out there on social media? People bring in all sorts of different scenarios. They dig out all sorts of clips, you know, that you may not want to talk about. They are appealing story, is out there.
You are
so
right,
really,
Sharon.
It feels very sad to some extent.
It is quite an interesting subject. I like your analysis where you're bringing the aspect of the PF entangling the former head of state into these political matters. You know, even the DEC probably they said they would be handling this issue diplomatically, considering that she's the mother of the nation. And but you see the PF, despite them being aware also that the matter had been scheduled in terms of the former First Lady appearing before the Drug Enforcement Commission, the PF went ahead to go and storm the DEC offices in the context that they went to give solidarity to the former First Lady, and prior to that, we were also informed that the former president, was going to accompany his wife. So they wanted to steal the show by now.
Yes.
Because they were aware that ECL was going to be there, they wanted to be there and everything. But I think, like you said, Sharon, now you saw what they did to him when they proceeded to go to his residence, and what we were saying there, like he was saying, I don't think he's
ready to face the public. He just needs to be left.
Even him, he mentioned the other important components in this speech to say, I am still relevant into the country's political discourse. I should be utilized better. And that's what should be done. Yes. Because it can give guidance, yes, quite right, on a number of issues. But the way it was coming out, it was quite too strong and exhibited a little bit of bitterness towards his counterpart, and even referred to him as the guy, that guy.
The guy cheated his way into State House. So
if you see that, if you've seen the comments, even those that are coming on our Facebook page, we talk about immunity. It wasn't necessary for him to start talking about immunity. I remember issues pertaining to presidential immunity. This discussion, we had gone past it some time back, and now it is coming back and is daring the UPND administration to say, can you lift my immunity? Now, what would happen is that probably if the president is to recommend that his immunity must be lifted, he will be also now be entangled into the back and forth of frequenting the court premises, and you know, at his age, he just needs a little bit of rest.
It actually just sets bad precedents. I think we need to move away from a situation where if one leaves office, they are followed to the latter. Sometimes others will even die of depression, you know, God forbid. But some people cannot handle certain situations, you know. I know there's just a lot of bitterness, really, for me. I didn't actually just see it in him saying something, but there's so much bitterness around members of the public towards this man, you know, and his family. But at the same time, I think we should be human enough and let the law take its course. I think this is what President Hakainde Hichilema has been talking about. He hasn't directly said, I'm going to follow you. He says the law will follow you, and let that be done. I don't think Mr. EDGAR LUNGU, being a lawyer himself, he understands the nitty-gritties of what legal implications are. And if at all it's done in a correct way, I think he won't be able to argue out and say, I'm just being followed simply because of this, this, and that. But then there's so much bitterness out there. There's so much vulgar language towards this family. And I think that's one of the things that's making him feel really bad. However, you, the viewers, can send us those comments. You can also call us and give us your views on how you think this should be handled. Should the president, the former president, really relinquish his immunity and allow for investigations to take place? Because as it stands, he cannot be investigated and still has immunity. But the wife is being followed, according to him, and the UPND guys, and the PF guys really are not letting him rest. Maybe we look at this story also. The Drug Enforcement Commission Director General Mary Chura says the commission suspended questioning of the former First Lady Esther Lungu. Mrs. Chura notes that this is based on the fact that it would send the wrong signal to the foreign dignitaries in the country attending the African Union meeting slated for 14th to 17th July 2022, and her being the mother of the nation. Meanwhile, DEC has also revealed that the Commission is willing to interview the former First Lady at any place of her choice where she will feel comfortable, stating that the questioning is aimed at establishing facts and not to harass anyone. She was speaking at a media briefing on Tuesday. So two things, Patrick, very important. The Commission is actually willing to follow her where she's comfortable. So this could be her home. You know, if she's comfortable to be questioned in her home, that is enough respect. They're also cognizant of the fact that she's the mother of the nation. Those people have experience. You know, we may not like them, Patrick Soko. You may not like them or what, but the truth of the matter still stands is that they have experience of being in the highest office, and they need to be treated with the dignity that they deserve, regardless of whatever you feel. Let the law do what it's supposed to do, and I don't think the law embarrasses sometimes. I don't think so.
The law does not say embarrass.
No, it doesn't look at the face.
And the law is blind.
It's blind.
So what happens is that when we are operating on the premises of the rule of law, we have to just allow the law to take precedence. And you know, the good part with clearing your name is that when people have nothing on you, it is just that. There's nothing they can do.
There's nothing they can do.
So and they give you that leverage to just clear yourself and come out clean. And you know, and the way they are doing it, it's systematic, because I think they just did well to avoid interrogations during this week when the country is hosting the African Union meeting, because at the end of the day a lot of issues we're going to be happening, because I can just imagine the issue pertaining to the storming of the DEC offices by the PF of members of parliament and everything. All that, I think, is tantamount to confusion. Now you can imagine if the investigations were to go on, it means more people were going to frequent that premises, and there could have been disturbances. Someone wants to interact with us. You are through to Camnet TV.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. This is Chanda.
Yes,
Mr. Jerry, you can add your contribution to our topic of discussion.
On the topic is, unfortunately, what is happening in this nation. I think very time that we should find a limit to this fracas that is going on. And now I wish the UPND guys should learn from what happened in the past. The issue of Rupia Banda, Chiluba, those things have set a precedent whereby we can learn from them. We should, the UPND guys should focus on building this nation, not fighting force and bad with the DF guys, because they are losing popularity. I think that if you were to bring EDGAR LUNGU back to stand with ATH, it would be a knockout. So I think they should concentrate in improving our livelihood. And that's my contribution.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. You two out there can call in and have your say on this very important topic. What does it mean for the Zambian people to be following our leaders in that manner? Yeah. And what are the implications of us going that route? Actually, yesterday, the former president, offered to have his immunity stripped so that he can be investigated. What's your say on that statement by former President Edgar Lungu, commonly known as ECL?
Yes, okay, so we play that song and then we'll be back on the other side.
All right, let's look at these clips and then we continue the conversation on the other side.
All citizens are eagerly waiting to see the outcome of the case in which former First Lady under the Patriotic Front PF Esther Lungu is being accused of owning 15 flats in State Lodge area, as the Drug Enforcement Commission DEC says records for the houses are missing at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. The DEC recently commenced investigations over the houses, which are registered under a Mr. Bena Chituta as a farm in Kasama, after the daughter of the said man refuted that her father owned the said properties. It was later established that the houses belonged to Esther Nyawatembo, wife of former President Edgar Lungu, through a ZESCO prepaid meter. The former First Lady was invited for questioning on 7th July 2022 at the Commission but did not show up, as a lawyer cited short notice requesting for a meeting on Tuesday, 12th July 2022 at 10 hours. DEC Director General Mary Chira, during a press briefing Tuesday, has however revealed that the Commission has turned down the request due to the upcoming African Union Summit, which is slated from 14th to 17th July 2022, stating that this will not augur well, her being a former First Lady.
As you are aware, the country is hosting the AU Summit, and following social media reports that some sections of society would want to raid the Commission on this day, the interview has been postponed to a later date, and we want to mention as DEC that we have a lot of respect for the former First Lady as the mother of the nation. And in this regard, we would be comfortable to interview her from wherever she will be comfortable. All we want is to establish facts and bring this matter to a logical conclusion. It is unfortunate that the properties we are investigating have led us to her. And I'm sure none of you wants to be in my position right now. Nevertheless, we have to do a professional job. As the Commission, we have responded to the lawyers, informing them of our unavailability to attend to the matter today, and instead we have pushed the date forward. The nation shall be informed once the matter is concluded.
Meanwhile, the DEC DG has dispelled allegations that the Commission has seized vehicles belonging to South African-based Zambian businessman Mr. James Ndambo, as is being alleged on social media.
So far, the Commission has established the names in which these motor vehicles are registered, of which one is a company, and Mr. Ndambo, as alleged in the public media, is not a director or shareholder. None of the motor vehicles is registered in the names of James Ndambo or my hometown as alleged. As a Commission, we therefore wish to dismiss media reports that we are investigating the South African businessman in connection with these vehicles, or indeed anything else. If, however, Mr. Ndambo claims that the said motor vehicles are his, we shall still record the necessary statements for us to conclude the matter professionally.
She reveals that the vehicles seized belong to companies, among them Global Logistics, Sago General Dealers, and individuals identified as Yusuf Ali and Mr. David Jerry, among others. Ms. Chira has revealed that the Commission is still trying to establish the owner of the residence at which the houses were seized, as the matter is still being investigated. Meanwhile, in a phone interview, Governance, Elections, Advocacy, Research Services GEARS Initiative Executive Director McDonough Chipenzi says there is no need to give special treatment to citizens when they are suspects of crimes.
So we believe that if it's so, it's wrong. Let everyone be faced by the similar treatment. The way they would go and get somebody who is refusing is the way they should do to anyone who has refused to obey the law. If the law is blind of status, The law is blind of race. The law is blind of color. The law is blind of age and ability. So everyone should be equal before the law. But if that's what they have decided, they must ensure that no one gets compromised on the way.
Investigative wings in the country are currently on a crusade to restore sanity to the country by bringing to book offenders of various financial crimes. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
As they waited for 14 hours before they proceed to the National Assembly and attend to their parliamentary duties, Opposition Patriotic Front members of parliament and youths Tuesday morning gathered at the residence of former Republican President EDGAR LUNGU's mansion in Lusaka's Ibex Hill area to offer solidarity to the former First Lady who was supposed to appear before the Drug Enforcement Commission. Former First Lady Esther Lungu, who the law enforcement agency Drug Enforcement Commission has been seeking to question over the alleged 15 flats located in State Lodge area believed to have been corruptly acquired, was expected to appear before the commission. However, DEC Director General Mary Chiwa said the commission postponed the interview to a later date, a situation that forced PF members who had turned up to offer solidarity to Mrs. Lungu drive their way to her premise on account that they needed to ensure that she was safe and in good spirit.
Your members of parliament, Your Excellency, are ready to even lay their lives in defense of the peace that we fought for. It's for that reason, Your Excellency, when DEC informed us that her honor, Madam First Lady, was not appearing, we could not believe them. It's difficult to believe what these people say. We thought she was still within the buildings.
And Mrs. Lungu, who seemed delighted to notice the presence of opposition members, thanked the gathering and, without addressing the issue of the flats, reminded them of God's love.
Remain prayerful so that Himself, God, who sees and knows and listens to each and every sound and voice, will indeed come to our rescue. Will intervene in all our situations. We should live a life that is not regrettable, much as we may be grieving for all the treatment that we may be given.
On the other side, former President Lungu said one does not need to be intelligent to know that there is a plot to go after him after authorities finish with his wife, adding that he is ready to answer any charges in an event his immunity is lifted.
You don't have to be very intelligent to know that after her is me. So this is a sequence. You're just peeling the onion. So I'm ready. All I can say is I'm ready. And they talk about immunity. Yes, they can take away the immunity, but I'll be able to answer to whatever charges. So I'm ready. Even if they say, look, I'm hiding behind the immunity, I'm not hiding anything. And even now, they're at liberty to question me and the citizen I can answer. So don't worry. I know what's going on. The strategy is to make sure that they kill PF. They kill my political life. I'm still politically active, although not in leadership, but I can still give an opinion. I can still influence certain things. So they're worried about that.
The former head of state, who conceded defeat to President Hakainde Hichilema in the 12 August 2021 general elections and pledged to comply with the constitutional provisions of a peaceful transition of power, says he did well to give power to the other guy so that people can see and compare leadership.
A lot of you have said you should have resisted, but I can assure you to do the right thing to do. President can see and compare. We stand head and shoulder above them now. May we check those who are liars. I know that some people lied into power. I'm talking about the United Kingdom. There's a guy called Bojo. Boris Johnson. He lied his way to number 10 Downing Street. Lessons can be drawn. If we cannot keep quiet and I have already said enough. Yeah. Lying.
In the next few days, we'll be hosting the Excellency. We thank you so much.
To you, lying.
Let him answer.
Lying. That is what is the
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you so much. Chapa, our media, that's all.
Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Thanks, Miriam, for that package, really, and making us understand exactly what was happening at his residence. And niwa neighbor is Patrick Valungu, kunu mafiokuso. And we'll try and see if we can reach a consensus by having a visit. So yes, that's where we are. As of yesterday, it was a hive of activity owing to the fact that the former first family was scheduled to appear before the Drug Enforcement Commission for questioning actually the former First Lady Esther Lungu over the 15 houses that are based in New Kasama here in Lusaka. And she didn't appear. Reasons given by the commission is that she is the mother of the nation, and obviously we have a lot of foreign dignitaries in the country attending the AU summit, and it would actually send the wrong signal. And in the spirit of having that respect for her, they would want to follow her wherever she's comfortable. But then again, how credible is it that they will manage to conduct a fair and good questioning or interrogation at her residence or anywhere else where she's comfortable? Everyone else is supposed to be called to where they're supposed to be questioned. So really, that is another twist to this story. We have a caller. Let's talk to them and see hear what they want to say. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Your name and where you're calling us from?
Yes,
Mr. Kombe?
Yes.
Please go ahead and tell us what you understand, or what's your thought on this.
Okay, what I want to let us not keep this to be the culture. Because I've not seen where they exist, where the law enforcement started doing the mistake, started doing the law, so that you see that for her.
Mr. Kombe, your line is pretty bad. We can hardly hear you. I'm not sure if you can just step out of where you are and look for a better signal. No, it's actually gone. All right, so that's where we are. We have quite a number of text messages on our social media platform, Facebook. Let's look at some of those messages from our viewers out there. Patrick, we have very good sight. I have 4 eyes, but you still beat me to art. Can you look at the screen and start reading some of those?
Quite a lot of them.
Quite a
Others
lot of
are
text
agreeing.
messages.
We are seeing Isaac Kapiala Jumbe there. Oh, okay. They are pretty fast. Others are just agreeing, and probably Sharon. I think.
So Twin Ones says, who is going to support the motion in Parliament? How many of MPs, and who's going to vote? And the action, which is third majority that people always talk about. The text messages are pretty.
Jonathan says the law is blind, but the people who enforce it
can see. So let the immunity be removed sooner. That's Felix Chembe. And we also have
Gigi J. Grace.
Wow, they are pretty fast. Let him go to Parliament and have his immunity removed. Then his immunity should be removed. And the other one, Chimba says evidence. Boss, I'm not sure. I think these guys are having a conversation.
Yes.
They're having a conversation. So they don't have anything to do apart from ranting. I'm meant to understand. No evidence, nothing.
Yeah. So you can keep those
messages coming. Running government. So you can send those messages as well. And let's get interactive. Give us your thought. Give us your say on this. Wow, Patrick.
Yes.
Follow us on our socials on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, as well as TikTok, and let's get interactive on those very, very important clips, videos, and topics that we share on those platforms. And let's get talking. Let's set the right agenda out there. We want to get your perspective with this important conversation that we're having this morning. It may not necessarily appeal to you, but your contribution is really needed.
So we take this one.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, Camnet.
Yes.
Yes, we are through to the station. Can we have your name and where you're calling us from, sir?
Hello.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
I'm calling from Kushi, Malambo Rejoice.
Yes,
Okay,
Mr. Rejoice, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Go ahead with your contribution.
My contribution of the impeachment of, rather the removing of this, the topic at hand, right?
Yes.
But removing someone's immunity, that's important because he needs to be shown a red card because many issues bound maybe go direct to him over the plundering of this economy. So therefore, it's important that his immunity is withdrawn immediately so that the nation may actually get to know what he really did wrong to this nation. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for your contribution, sir.
Thank you so much. So, calling from Mukushi there and watching Camnet TV, thank you so much for the feedback. We really appreciate your viewership and your contribution to issues of national importance. Just as a reminder to you, our viewers, you can also call in and send us those text messages. And this morning, we are focusing our breakfast show on yesterday's events with regards to former President EDGAR LUNGU and his wife, former First Lady Mrs. Esther Lungu. She was scheduled to appear before the investigative wings, and when the so-called solidarity guys, went to his house, he was prompted. The other guy. I mean, we're getting his usage of words. The guy, So yeah, the solidarity guys went to his premises just in Ibex, and they actually, I would actually say, they forced him to talk. Because if they didn't go there,
he wasn't going to talk.
He wasn't going to talk. He wasn't going to talk. He was just going to sober in his home, and comfort the wife to say, okay, we'll go through this. But with that gun.
Let's take another call.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, morning, madam.
Good, thanks. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
This is John calling from Mustafa.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, madam. The way the president is talking at this, someone was talking bad against him. So he needs that to be moved so that he see if he didn't commit anything, so that we know.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your contribution, sir. Well, divergent views. The beauty about democracy is that it's about opinions. No one can gag your opinion, Sharon, and the people are giving us their perspective and their views on this topic of discussion which we are having in studio. And our Facebook page is also littered with comments from our followers.
Indeed.
They are getting the conversation going, and you too can add your perspective by calling the studio and give us your perspective, because at the end of the day, we need to just contribute to these national matters because they matter at the end of the day. And we saw Mr. Marambo suggesting that the former president EDGAR LUNGU's immunity should be removed so that he can clear himself because what he said they have nothing on him and is ready to prove that. So, and that was Mr. Marambo. We also had Mr. James who also added his perspective, also pertaining to the same matter that his immunity should be removed. These are actually divergent views coming from our callers from various localities of the country watching Camnet TV.
Indeed.
And we are glad that they are managing to follow the breakfast show and wherever they are, and to keep the conversation going. Remember, Camnet TV exists because of you, our dear viewers, and we can keep the conversation going. And just now we take another call.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir. How?
Good, thanks. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Okay, my name is Julian.
Yes.
Calling from Northern Lake.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to comment on the issue of the removal of the late president. Yeah. You know, it's very surprising that this issue was raised again by the president, the former president himself. And look at this president, he's a lawyer. And I was not expecting him also to comment like that yesterday. Because a lawyer deals the law. So for him, I was expecting to comment, okay, since now they are within the law, let us do according to the law. Not coming up saying, no, he's removing immunity and the like. So if you're having such a leader like that one, who is the leader, then the country knows that we will be made. Because the person is not law. You see, we are expecting a lawyer to comment within the law and providing guidance by the law. And like him, the other thing to say, no, I'm going to answer what no, let's say, okay. This is our fighting by the law. So let them operate within the law without anything. So if they want, they call something available, not anything as if they are fighting him. No. I feel whoever they to ask him next time, if he says like that, then the law is for what? Why is there the law?
All right.
I think that's the question.
Okay.
Interesting. That's Mr. Nyirenda giving us his...
Thank you so much, Mr. Nyirenda. Thank you so much for your contribution. Keep those calls coming, Patrick. For now, though, let's take a short breather so that when we return, we continue the conversation with one of our guests who just help us accelerate this conversation even further, at least to have a third voice on set. We are journalists and we can only talk up to a certain level. Like he mentioned, to say, he's a lawyer and he's supposed to speak within the realms of law. So even us, we want to speak in the realms of journalism.
Yes, because if you heard Mr. Nyirenda, the point he's saying is that even sometimes when they are arresting you, the lawyers prefer to say you were quiet.
Yes.
So that to avoid anything being used against you.
Exactly.
You understand, right? And what those guys did is that we're just crucifying the former head of state and by comparing him to...
You know, the solidarity guys.
The solidarity guys, in the name of their solidarity.
Wanting to gain political mileage. Let's take a short breather. When we return, we continue the conversation. Keep those text messages and calls coming. Good morning.
bananas. Working, waiting, this what you've been praying for.
Welcome back. You are still watching the Camnet Breakfast Show, Wednesday edition, governance and policy, everything politics. And just now we are ready for our first interview with our guest in the studio, Mr. Charles Mwewa, a political activist. Mr. Mwewa, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning, and good morning viewers out there.
We are, well, first of all, before we are discussing a very hot topic, but before we get that, first of all, as we want to get your general understanding pertaining to the political environment under the United Party for National Development. Is it conducive?
On the other hand, I would say yes, it's quite peaceful. There is a little bit of peace in terms of cadalism.
A little bit?
Yes, as compared to the previous government, yes. So when you look at this one, I think it's a little bit peaceful. I've said a little bit simply because, at least on social media, there are a lot of, it's like people have actually moved now inside from the streets to social media, which is quite dangerous again. So it's more conducive under the European government as compared to the previous one in terms of peace.
So your statement really is lukewarm, meaning that it's a yes and no. So what you've given us is that it's a bit of a yes, a lukewarm yes. So where is the no coming from?
The no is actually coming from a situation whereby, let's say for example, I talked about the issue of social media. I think on social media it's quite dangerous. There are a lot of insults. Me, when I'm actually going through the phones, I even know to say, even before I read a statement, I think I'm not expecting anything good from such a person or such an organization, so which is quite dangerous. But in terms of in the public, on the ground, in markets and other things, it's very well.
Interesting. Now, let's weigh on the issue of opposition political parties in the country. Do you think we have a strong opposition to give the UPND sleepless nights?
When we look at that one, we are just about maybe 9 to 10 months ago from the general election. And always, the biggest opposition political party becomes the then ruling party, which is in this case the Patriotic Front. And when you look at the Patriotic Front, at the moment, like I said previously, they still have got a homework to actually do. So it's an issue of having somebody who is actually out of power and then others that are actually coming in on board. Like for example, Socialist Party. They are also coming in on board, of which if we are to call them a strong opposition political party, it's not now. Maybe after 2026. They will definitely be a good opposition political party.
What makes one a strong political party? Is it because they've been in government before, or they've been in existence for a long time?
It's a two-way thing. Other people would actually be in existence for a long time. Others maybe because of the way they actually handle checks and balances. I'll give you one example. For instance, Michael Sata only stayed in opposition for about 10 years. Then he became president. That is Patriotic Front. Then the UPND stayed in opposition for over 25 years. Then they became strong. So it depends on how one handles the checks and balances. That's why you are going to see that other people are only going to make 2 attempts. They actually win. Others, even just 1 attempt, they do what? They win. So that's basically the way it is.
So what should the PF do to put its house in order to become a formidable opposition political party?
The first thing is they have to put the house in order. What I mean by putting the house in order, I'm a person who is very objective. I don't look at somebody's face in order for me to actually say something or what. No. Like this time around, when you look at being in opposition, they are actually doing the checks and balances. The first thing is that, one, you need to accept to say, we have actually been defeated by our colleague. Then you look at the weaknesses. What is it that made us lose an election? I'll give you an example of myself. I could have been, I actually stood in Mwezi. and I'd put my house in order. Oh, what is it that made me lose an election? It's not the issue of getting back to the person who has actually won. I start fighting him. It's not necessary. My duty is to put my house in order. What is it that made me lose an election? So for me, the PF are actually not doing that. The only thing is they are actually trying to fight the UPND, which is not going to help in any way. Let them get back to the drawing board and then do a right thing. If they actually, I'll give you one example. The only people that are actually talking are the same people in the PF. Unless you tell me to say no, a different person is actually talking. The only people you see talking, you see maybe it's Honorable Nakachinda, it's Honorable Munduwile, and other people. These people have actually been there. So what is it that is different, which they are actually going to tell the people, in order for the people to have confidence in them? It's quite difficult. So they still have got homework to do. Everyone, believe me or not, they still have got homework to do.
Let's bring in the aspect of leadership.
Yes.
They were scheduled to have a conversation, a convention, an elective convention to settle for a presidential candidate or a president to take the party forward. It did not take place in June. This is July now. And they were supposed to have held that meeting in June. And what do they really need to do?
Is there hope for this political party?
So it's not about helping PF as a political party, no. It's up to them. Like for instance, that's why I'm saying they still have got homework to do. Even for them not to actually go for a convention, to me, it's because of selfishness. That selfishness is still there. You may have people who are actually popular on the ground who would be able to take over the party leadership. In the meantime, that person is not wanted by the people organizing the convention. What do you expect at the end of the day? It's to delay. So these are the causes, and this is what we are actually talking about. There's too much to be put in order in terms of mobilizing the PF. Like for example, I'll give you an example of what happened yesterday. Was it yesterday when the MPs went to the former heads of state's house? Would you call that solidarity or sympathy? Yes, it's the what we expect from MPs.
Solidarity, guys.
You see, so that's basically the way it is. So in short, you need to have independent, very sober people offering solidarity to the former head of state. Not so the same people that had actually given him lies, that had told him lies, that made him lose, then you call them actually giving him some lies. No, that is not so.
All right, so that brings us to today's topic of discussion, where we're talking about the happenings yesterday at former President's house, EDGAR LUNGU, where he actually said, you can strip my immunity and investigate me if you so wish. Those statements were uttered by him and they are on record. Was he in order, or should we go that way as a country?
Let's hope he actually did not say it out of hunger. You know, I may say something just because I'm annoyed. Okay, if you want to beat me, it's not really that I'm actually ready for you to beat me. So, to me, I had actually taken that as not something that was really coming from deep down his heart. But again, on the issue of immunity, let's get back to 1991. We had Kaunda's immunity removed at the right time, of course. We had Chiluba's immunity removed at the right time. We had except Mwanawasa because he actually died. We had Arabi's immunity removed by the PF. Of course, at the right time. Then now we have President Lungu's immunity. And other people are actually talking about his immunity being moved. But again, it's a two-way thing. If, for example, Patrick Soko, you are calling me to be a criminal, a thief, I would want my name to be clean. How do you want the name to be clean? If the only way to make President Lungu's name to be clean is by way of removing his immunity, better we actually go by that. So that at the end of the day, his name is clean. So that at the end of the day, all the accusations which people are saying, no, he had actually stolen, it will never actually happen in whichever way. I would give you an example of the issue at hand. For example, you are talking about The issue at hand that led to even the MPs go to the former heads of state the house was our mother, the former first lady, concerning the flats. You know, sometimes you may have a title deed on a property, but the process may be flawed. You get the point. How may not be aware? I'll give you one example. I'm actually getting a title deed where in Mwense, I've moved about 3-4 times just pursuing for what. So I may have a title, but the process that was used to get the same title may be flawed. So we need to be real in these issues. So on the issue of the immunity, if that is the only way to make President EDGAR Lungu's name to be clean, we can still go by that.
Interesting views out there. You two out there can call us and send us those text messages. Let's get interactive. We are discussing the statement that was issued by former President EDGAR Lungu that he is willing to actually abandon his immunity so that investigations can start into the alleged corrupt practices, among other accusations that members of the public have actually brought forward against him. And in studio, this is what we are discussing, among other issues pertaining to Zambia's democracy and the happenings in the country, at least 10 months down the line of the United Party for National Development Administration. So really, you've spoken about the group that went to ECL yesterday, and you've clearly stated that they are not doing enough. And the statement that you issued, would we be right to say that it was forced out of his mouth because of this group of solidarity guys?
Of course, yes. That one I would not even pretend. Of course, yes. You know, by this time, President Lungu needs to be surrounded by sober-minded people. Not people with too much bitterness, no. It is not going to help him. Whether we pretend, we don't pretend, it is not going to help him. You need to be surrounded by very sober. If we've got independent bishops, let them go there and give solidarity to him. Not his own MPs, no.
Christians for Lungu?
No. How do you say Christians for Lungu? Do you call us? No, those again are not so. We have got people. We have got people who are nowhere on the scene, who have got very independent minds. Bring them on board. Let them come on board. Let them help. Let them help somebody. Like, for instance, when you just looked at the statement that came from Honorable Munduwire, the statement that he gave when he was actually talking to President Lungu, what could you expect could be his response after that? Everything was out of what? Out of bitterness. You can't say, no, I'm actually going to fight. If it means dying, we are actually going to die to protect you. Those are lies. Those are blue lies. Extremely blue lies. So we need independent people to go. If it's me, I can go and give solidarity to our mother. Because at the end of the day, she's an innocent person. But again, my appeal to the DEC also is to make sure that let them operate in a way that is going to show to the public to say they are actually operating professionally. Let's not forget, the reporter asked the question to say from Daliso, then there was Tasila, then from there was now the mother. I think that question also was not comfortable with me. Then the president had said, no, it's me they are actually looking for. You get the point. I'll give you one example, for instance.
Let's hold your thought. Let's talk to this person. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
I'm Nguma David, calling from Wama.
Okay.
Okay. You can go ahead with your contribution.
I've made the topic concerning the community. And concerning the flow people claiming the people surrounding EDGAR Lungu. Those people went to control him because he living the houses for the former district.
Yes.
You know what? We people should really appreciate. And then, there are things anybody who have a house should be investigated. And those people who is there are not so, are very so by money. So, we just need to appreciate, not to be talking like, yeah, this you are not human. So, these things are not okay. People are saying to do a right way. Not only condemning, no, were previously acquired or what. And those people who are very super-minded. Even people would change. They are not all that are super-minded. So please, let us try to see and just to be the right man.
All right.
All right, Mr. Ngoma.
Thank you so much.
So,
Mr. Ngoma.
Mr. Moira, I would want us to clarify what you mean by sober-minded. Probably they may not have, maybe your context may not be clear. Just kindly clarify.
What is a sober-minded
what
person?
do you mean, especially when you describe that
Okay,
group?
when you talk about somebody who is sober-minded, we have got the UPND. We also have got the Patriot Front. They are UPND supporters and they are PFU supporters. We need somebody who doesn't support anyone here. And that becomes a sober-minded person.
Does that person exist?
They are, of course.
Okay.
Are you telling me we don't have 90 partisan persons? They are there.
Are you telling us that the president has to go beyond partisan interest now in terms of the PF, the former president?
I think that would be the best. That would be the best. To me, when he actually keeps quiet, it's even much better. When he keeps quiet, it's even much better. Just like the previous callers actually said. Definitely, I've not said maybe people got things illegally. No, that's not what I've actually said. You know, like we had after the 2011 elections, we had the children for the former head of state then, RB. They were actually followed. Do you still remember that? Others went to South Africa. So there are certain things that the people surrounding you would do. Even when you are out of town, when you are out of the country, they would actually do. You will not know. And again, to me, the blame still gets back to our security wings. Our security wings need to protect this country. How do they protect this country? Like, for instance, now we have got the President Church. Let all the wrongdoings happening now be actually brought in public. Then it is actually going to help us. Now, when you actually start helping, when you start following them 10 years from now or 20 years from now, when they are out of power, then it becomes a problem.
Others have been of the view that they fight against corruption and let's say money laundering, all these other crimes, is politically motivated. What's your take on that, Mr.?
This is the issue that I'm talking about. If, for instance, Patrick, tomorrow I was walking with you going to town from Chawama, going to town. Then today I'm walking with you going to town. Then tomorrow you find me with a vehicle worth 5 million. Will it be an offense for you to ask me to say, where have you gotten this money?
No.
It will not be an offense. So that is an issue. So you should not ask me after I get out of power. Ask me when I'm still in power. This is where I'm now challenging the security wings. The people from the deck, people from the Anti-Corruption Commission, the police, and any other security wings that would be there. Let them act now, even before people move out of power. Because if they act when they are out of power, it will be political persecution. Well, in fact, not. Sometimes it would be yes, sometimes it would be not. But at the end of the day, we always have got the courts. They are the ones to actually make a decision. So all these things that are actually happening are as a result of our security wings not actually helping us. That's why I appealed to the deck to make sure that let them not look as if they are actually doing persecutions. Yes.
Interesting. There's some. We were also informed that the Drug Enforcement Commission does undertake a lot of investigations and does arrest people. But what always rings a bell is that when you mention prominent people, you know, there are many people who are independent, who are not even politically connected. They do commit huge crimes, to say, but because their names do not ring a bell, probably even Zambians would not be interested. But when you mention prominent names, Mr. Mwera, the context of they are targeting us does come into the picture. But like you said, but how can we really put it to an end such a notion? Is it that we also need as a general public to change the perception in terms of how we perceive this matter, and also pay attention to even small issues, even those people that may not be politically connected, with that we pay attention to those issues as well?
The only way out, whether we like it or not, is making sure that they arrest a prominent person when they are still in power. Then they are not going to take as if they are not going to be taken as if they are political opponents. If me, I'm arrested today, are they even going to hear? Who is Charles Mwell? They are just no one is even going to know. Me, my only appeal, my only challenge is let them arrest anyone. Like for instance, we had issues from the Ministry of Tourism. Let them make sure that they actually investigate those issues. It started happening a little bit in the PF government when Honorable Ronald Stotela was actually arrested and Honorable Chilufya by then. That's a thing that is supposed to continue, so that at the end of the day, people are not arrested when they are actually not out of power.
But then again, we had former President ECL at that particular time say, don't arrest my officers.
And that becomes a problem.
So that becomes a problem for sitting public officials to be investigated, because the appointing authority would actually say, leave them, allow them to work. So it becomes a problem. So in this regard, with all these precedents that has been set insofar as investigating office bearers while they are still in office, I insist, do we need a specific law that will actually compel these officers in investigative institutions to go ahead and follow these, regardless of the president saying, leave my officers?
No, laws are there, whether we like it or not.
Do we need an extra law?
Laws, no. The laws are enough. They are there. We may not have known them just because people are being protected. Let's say, for example, you have a child who is actually fighting outside. Then immediately a child gets into the house. You say, no, do you think that child is going to be disciplined? The answer is no. It's like you are actually protecting the child. But when a child comes, what has this person done? Oh, okay. In fact, you should be the first person to even beat that child so that it becomes a lesson. To me, that is the way it is actually supposed to be.
Or I'm giving more power to investigative wings, because we've seen this happen really, where cases keep being reported. And like last year, before the elections, I think we covered the story, Patrick, where now PS, local government, Nicholas Peary, had reported Doris Leah to the Anti-Corruption Commission, I think twice. Up to date, nothing has come forth. Maybe because she was in government then. Now that she's out, she's taken a very low profile, very, very low profile. She doesn't even want to appear anywhere. And then that case comes up. What do you make of that? You know, the matter was reported when she was in government.
And that's, which means we are still getting back to the
Are we supposed to give these institutions more power?
No, they have got
than
powers.
They have.
They have got
powers.
They have got powers. They just have to be courageous enough.
So
they have got powers. Yes. They just have to be courageous enough, and we need to challenge them. Let them act now. Like for instance, all these cases that are being handled now, these are issues that they had before. It's not that somebody is going to report today. No. These are issues which were there before. Like for example, the issue of the former PF Secretary General, Mumbi Pili. Dockets were there. Police have got these records, and Corruption Commission has got these records. But because they are trying to protect their jobs.
But how can we avoid such going in the future, Mr. Mwell? Because we may still have some people who still think they need to protect their jobs, even up to now in this administration, to say, no, we won't effect this arrest. Despite someone being a murder suspect, they'll still opt to remain quiet or not take action at all.
It's by having the leadership that does not tolerate nonsense.
But the president has also said, given the go-ahead to say, do your job, I won't interfere with you. And when they are working, people are saying they are victimizing. Where should we go there? And it always have to be politicians at the end of the day. Politicians are the only ones complaining.
Yes, it's only politicians that are complaining. That's why I'm actually saying we need the leadership. Like, for example, the president has openly said, make sure that you actually do your job. Mm-hmm. It's up to them to do the job. Let them stop fearing this. For example, I'm the chairman from whichever ward. Then they actually tell them, no, this one don't arrest because of this and that. No, these people have got powers. They have got laws that actually protect them. That's why we've got anti-corruption. That's why we've got so in order for the institutions to be regarded as an institution that has got integrity, they have to make sure that they definitely start with, even those that are in power, let them be arrested. If we can have one jailed, even better.
Interesting. In case you are just joining us, you are watching the Camnet Breakfast Show, Wednesday edition, where we focus on governance and politics. And in conversation, we have Mr. Charles Mwerwa, a political activist, and we are talking about the issue pertaining to the former head of state, involving matters pertaining the arrest of the former First Lady, Madam Esther Lungu, and the former President Edgar Lungu was compelled to issue quite a number of remarks, and another remark, Sharon, that comes into my mind, the strong remark, is that the former president was saying that let's compare oranges with oranges, and the Zambians by now can tell which oranges are rotten and oranges that are ripe. In the sense that to bring that was metaphorically speaking, but now let me bring it into a perspective for a layman. It means that let's look now. Zambians are complaining that there is the high cost of living in the wake of high bus fares, high fuel prices, and that under his administration probably things would have been better, and that Zambians are missing the PF. Your take on that, Mr. Mwero? If the PF won, looking at the current economic fundamentals, would we have been at the same level as others have argued? Give us your perspective on that.
The truth of the matter is, even during PF's leadership, we complained of high cost of living. Let's not forget that. It's just 9 months ago. Mm-hmm. But Sharon, didn't you say no, fuel has actually gone up?
But why are you putting me on the spot?
I'm looking at you. We actually said that. So, we actually said that. That's why President HH had even to get a cooking well and said things are just too expensive. People complained. We actually complained of high cost of living.
So we should enjoy
it. So it's a thing that has just continued. It's a thing that has actually continued. Mm-hmm. So the issue of no, things could have been better that time, I think that's a lie. Let's be realistic. People complained. That's why they even made sure that they voted out PF. Believe me or not.
So should people wait for 5 years again?
But in order to but the current administration, don't you think they need to provide the solutions?
Definitely, when it comes to solution, it's not negotiable. That's their responsibility. Let them provide solutions to that effect. It's unfortunate that people complained of high cost of living and people are still complaining of high cost of living. There's no change. What is it that has changed? The only thing that has changed is a situation whereby in the previous government, they are actually revealing fuel prices every month. That's the only thing that has changed. The rest of things are just the same. We started complaining about the high cost of living. Previously, 9 months ago, we are still complaining of fuel to be high. Were we not complaining? We are complaining. We are complaining of milk to be high. We are complaining of cooking oil to be high. So when you talk about the issue of the cost of living to be high, it's a thing that has been there from PF up to now.
So looking at now, the UPND will be clocking a year next month. And should Zambians still remain hopeful that things will normalize, as assured by the Minister of Finance, Mr. Dr. Stumbeko Msogotwane?
Definitely, Zambians need we just need to give them time. Yes,
how much time are we supposed to give them?
No, we have given them a mandate. It's 5 years. We've given them a mandate. Whether we like it or not, we can't cut the term to tomorrow, no. Whether we like it or not, we have actually given them a mandate. So it's their responsibility to make sure that they prove to do a correct thing. Of course, there are certain things that they have actually done. I just talked about the issue of sanity, peace, in terms of cadalism. Me, personally, definitely, I would not want PF to come back because of the cadalism that they actually portrayed. Definitely, I would not. Definitely, I would not.
Because of cadalism.
That was very bad.
As we wind up, Mr. Mulwa, your concluding remarks, quite an interesting conversation.
We have our former head of state. He is the only father of the nation. My only appeal is let's have him sober-minded. And before we actually did, I actually appreciated the ADC. He had actually protected the former heads of state from issuing more statements. Let MPs of former ministers not mislead President Lungu. He has done his part. We had RB was misled at the time when he wanted to stand again in 2011. When he had confidence to say, I can do better than PF. Because of the people that were actually surrounded him. So let them give him time, let him rest. He has done his part. And definitely, we actually need him as our advisor. He's just like the way he said, he's an advisor to both the ruling party and those that are in opposition. He must play a very neutral role as the former head of state. Then if an issue of removing his immunity is the way of making his name clean, we can still go by that. It has happened before. It can still happen now, and it still happen in the future.
All right.
Well, if removing his immunity will help the former head of state clear his name, we go by that. In the words of one Charles Mwewa, a political activist. Interesting remarks there to wind up our conversation for the breakfast show, Sharon.
Indeed, thank you so much for always choosing Camnet TV. Quite an interesting conversation we've had. Join us again tomorrow at 7 hours to 9 for yet another exciting edition of the breakfast show. My name is Sharon Kalibula. Keep the conversation going of whatever topics we've had, starting from the health corner, the money markets, and of course some of the stories that we zoomed in that made headlines, and continue to be topical as we delve into other news stories for today. Thank you so much once again. Good morning.